Hey kids, howdy. Welcome to Conscious Embodiment, Astrology and Dreams with Dr. Michael Lennox. We're here together for the last week of November, so we're almost out of the crazy month of darkness and turmoil.
Does that mean the retrograde's over now? Or?
No, not quite. Not quite. Yeah, and in fact, the week ahead has so much Venus healing, Chiron stuff. It's going to be very emotional, I think.
Okay.
But let's start with the announcement that I have is like, kids, I just can't fake this today. You know that we don't record this the day you listen to it. We recorded the week before. And so it says on my note, tell everybody how great the webinar for the USA was, because it was yesterday, but it wasn't. It hasn't happened yet. So I'm not going to say it was great because I don't know. But if you're hearing this podcast on Monday, understand that it is now available for permanent recorded, like it's never going to go away. You can certainly go purchase it and watch the recording. It's really a fascinating astrological dive.
So that'll just be up on the website.
Yeah, it's a permanent part of my astro school because it just seemed like the team asked me, because it doesn't fit on the astro school based on the way, what I'm teaching, but it just seems so interesting that I wanted to keep it. This week we have a question from Jess. Shout out to Jess. You send in a lot of questions, and I love the questions you send. Please, kids, feel free. The dreams we have backlogged so profoundly because people are constantly sending us dreams. The astrology questions, less so I welcome them. Send astrology questions to michael@michaellennox.com. So Jess writes, Dear Michael and team, I hope that you are having a good November despite all the craziness of Mercury retrograde. Well, we could talk about that. Because I'm having a rough one. She says some more things. Oh, one of the things she says is that she's a therapist and that she's been noticing like a juiciness in the consulting room, which doesn't surprise me because it's been that deeply emotional and the week ahead is even maybe more so. So I get that. I have an astrology question that I'm hoping you might be able to address on the podcast. I've been doing research for an introductory astrology workshop that I'm teaching, which I'm super excited about. Yay, Jess, have at it. I was originally taught that the 4th house is more associated with the father and the 10th house more associated with the mother. I came across something online that said the opposite, 10th father and 4th mother. This makes more intuitive sense to me, but when I dig further, I can't seem to find consistency across sources about which of these are the general consensus. Wondering if you might be able to shed some light on this. This is curious to me because I've never seen 4th as father, 10th as mother. So let's just dial this back for the listeners. In the natal chart, the natural ruler of the 4th house is Cancer. The natural ruler of the 10th house is Capricorn. This is the foundational axis of the zodiac, meaning Cancer, 4th house, home and hearth and mother is like our root. And then Capricorn in the 10th house at the top of the chart is the opposite of home. It's like out there in the world. What are we accomplishing, doing? Right? But Capricorn is the goat climbing up the mountain. Cancer is the crab who doesn't leave the house. So these are very different energies, and one is deeply feminine, very much about stillness, very much about gestating and being creative and birthing things, and that's Cancer, 4th house, mother. I can't see how there'd be any other way to interpret that because it's archetypally pure. And for my money, you can't fuck with an archetype. Like there's just no father in Cancer energy, as there's no mother in Capricorn energy. Cancer's ruled by the moon. So that portion at the root is where we need safety because the moon reflects that we're in constant shifting through emotional cycles, that everything's different every moment. And who knows how to hold us and make us feel safe when that's happening? Mommy. Who do we want whipping us up the mountain of our ambitions? Daddy. We want daddy to be in the masculine principle saying, climb that mountain, get up to the top, don't stop until you finish. Would mommy tell you that? Mommy would say, get the fuck home and rest.
Yeah.
So for my money, there's no other way to interpret it. And I got to tell you something, Jess. I'm very arrogant about my astrological positions. I'll try my best to use language of if you see and feel something differently, have at it. I really mean that. It's like people need to respect what rises up inside of them. But I'm an expert on the archetypal nature of consciousness. And so I promise you that if I saw that, I'd be curious, I'd be interested, but I wouldn't be able to take it on because it just doesn't fit. The foundational axis is crossed by the relational axis, right? That's Aries, self, and Libra, other. So they form the perfect square on top, or cross would be a better word, on top of which the spherical nature of consciousness is hung. And so it's mommy at the bottom, daddy at the top, us on the left, and our relationships on the right. And those 4 points, represented by the 4 cardinal signs that have different elements but all start up a new sensibility, is the very structure that all of the fluidity and movement and shifts in life that we move through is hung. So, Cancer mommy, Saturn daddy, thanks for the great question. When I'm looking at any month's astrology as a whole before we get there, this is in preparation for writing my monthly forecast. I use the outline that I create at the time I do my yearly forecast, which is just very detailed, right? It's like the upcoming one on January 1st for this year I'm working on now, and it's got, all of the juicy details, but I only focus on presenting the big moments each month. Otherwise, it'd be endless, right? I'd have to all the personal planet permutations, but it's like retrogrades, new moons, full moons, big honkin' transits, eclipses, and things like that there. So since we entered the Sagittarius mansion, there has been nothing juicy and significant, but this week is I keep using that word juicy. It's like the 3rd time, so I apologize for overusing an adjective, but it fits. The week ahead is deeply emotional, very healing, which means complex, deep feelings, lots of grief, lots of tears, which is what I've been hearing about in social media like daily for the last 3 weeks is everybody's not sleeping and everybody's crying. And I think there'll be more of that in the week ahead.
Okay, get ready.
Well, you don't have to get ready, though, because we're in it today already. Mercury retrograde is conjunct Venus today. That's valuable as fuck. And it's not a triple transit because Venus moves too fast. It's just a happenstance that this Mercury retrograde includes like 2 meetups with Mars, before and after, and this one connection with Venus, which is unusual because usually Mercury's moving so fast, he's not touching personal planets, and certainly not 3 times. But this one opportunity to have our unconscious mind, which is what Mercury's like more connected to when he's retrograde, dive into our heart centers for like information that's down there in the tumultuous waters of our grief, that there can be some insight and some ahas in our like mental body, understanding some of the complex emotions that we've been maybe struggling with the last few weeks. And then an inconjunct from the retrograding Mercury to Chiron, which is a triple transit, is the second opportunity that Mercury has to offer us like a path out of wounded spaces. The inconjunct is an exit strategy, and Mercury's allowing us in this retrograde to get in touch with wounds that are ready to be released, that aren't really troubling us anymore, but we have to like go through a psychic process to really shift and change. And that's happening today with these two transits. Now, Venus ain't alone today because Mars is also T-squaring the nodes of the moon. All three of these are happening today. Mars is action and movement and choices and the decisions we make and the goals that we hold and the projects we're working on. And a T-square with the nodes of the moon says there's conflict with both the past we're trying to wrap up and close out and the future that we're attempting to create like at the same time. So it's bumpy energy when you have two squares from the planet of action. And then you layer in the fact that our emotional body is like lying on the surgeon's table. The complexity of today, Monday, will give you a sense of where you might need to go. Well, each day of this week brings us like another layer of emotional deep work we have to do. Tomorrow, Venus pulls into an inconjunct with Chiron, right? If Mercury and Venus are together and Mercury is inconjuncting Chiron today, it's just a matter of hours before Venus catches up and does the same. So the peak of tomorrow is the emotional release of the wound, where Monday might be a little more mental and intellectual. But like anything you discover today about matters of the heart will have you on Tuesday diving into some process of release that could be as heavy as grief or as light as, thank God that's over. Now, hump day holds the brass key. So right smack dab in the middle of everything that I'm describing so far on the front end, and in a moment I'll describe the back end, is Venus trining Jupiter and Saturn. It's exact on the same day. Venus in Scorpio is allowing us to be in Plutonian levels of change and transformation. Uncomfortable, but valuable. So the fact that Venus gets some marching orders early on and then starts the process of release as we move into Tuesday, by Wednesday, we're in a kind of emotional sensibility that says, this is where I need to land, where our heart centers are vibing with both Jupiter and Saturn, the grand water trine, where Venus trine Jupiter allows us to manifest everything we might want. And Saturn adds the structure. Now, of course, when I say everything that you want, I'm talking archetypally, because none of us can receive anything we don't feel deserving of. So make sure that that's part of your watchword this week. I said a lot about this in the new moon that kicked off this intense cycle, is like, let the Plutonian transformative, very uncomfortable, tearful emotionality help you purify the parts where you do not feel worthy, you do not feel deserving or capable, because those are lies, and you just want the tears of your grief to wash that stuff away. And just know that on Wednesday, no matter how you're feeling, there is, in fact, available to us a beautiful emotional thread that connects to hope, possibility, and the structures to create. And I invite you on Wednesday, if you ain't feeling the way I'm describing, is sit your ass down in a chair and do some meditating till you find it, because it's in there if you can get under the detritus of the complaint and the overwhelm of emotional content. We get a little break from Venus. She takes 2 days off. So she doesn't come back to, the process we're in until Saturday and Sunday. So it's like the esthetician leaves the room while the burning face mask is on. But we do have the first quarter moon on Thursday, and that counts in terms of the intensity of the week, because the new moon that kicked this all off had all of this promised in it. So if that's the case, and there's a sort of a dynamism built into that which we begin at the new moon, the first quarter tells us we're in the crisis moment generated by that full moon, where we have to turn towards that which is thriving and away from that which is failing. So this is like a farmer's analogy. And it is quite true that if you put any seeds in any soil and water them for 7 days, they will germinate. Germinate means crack. Crack is a crisis for the seed anyway. And some of those cracked seeds will create roots and shoots, and the others will fail. And so you can't look at your broken seeds or your shoots that are germinating and get mad at them. You can't dig them up to see why, because then you'll disturb the ones that are growing. You want to turn towards those. My hope is that by the time we get to Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday have offered the insight that might help you know, what do I have to move away from, and what do I have to call more of toward me to complete whatever emotional growth that you're in at the moment. The weekend has Saturday and Sunday following a similar dynamic of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? The Wednesday carrot that we might not have known about in our bodies was calling us forward Monday and Tuesday, helping us, dive deep, because there was the promise on Wednesday of some, value. So Venus takes 2 days off, but on Saturday, she's going to hit us with some disruptive energy, followed on Sunday by yummy, yum, yum. Love is love is love is love. So again, Saturday and Sunday are like an emotional process where if on Saturday we allow for real surrender, vulnerability, and curiosity, we can have an incredible alignment of love on every level on Sunday. Let's break it down. Now, if you remember the new moon in Scorpio that set us off on this journey, one of the things that was kind of outrageous about it was its direct opposition with Uranus. So Uranus moved back into Taurus a couple of weeks ago. The new moon was at 28 degrees of Scorpio. Uranus was at 29 Taurus. That's a very tight opposition. And Uranus is the great awakener. Lightning flash is his way. So an opposition is a very tense geometry. Something must happen when two energies oppose. They have to swerve or crash or dance. And the entire lunar cycle has that built into it from what was imprinted in the new moon. And that new moon might have been very disruptive when it unfolded, a week before the first quarter. Well, by Saturday, Venus has come into position at the very end of Scorpio. Thank God she's going to be leaving this sign fairly soon. But not yet. And on Saturday, she opposes Uranus in Taurus. Because Uranus is in one of the signs that Venus rules. Anything that Venus does with Uranus while he's in that sign, I'm talking about the last 8 years, but now that he's back there, he receives this opposition from Venus profoundly better because he's in her house, because she's in, Scorpio, where she does not like to be, because it's emotionally, tumultuous for her. This opposition on Saturday has, gravitas and depth. It has a simultaneous sesquisquare between the sun and Chiron. And what's valuable about this is it's the first time the sun is participating in a Venus-Chiron week. That means we don't get real conscious awareness until Saturday, but it ain't like the smooth flowing aha of conscious awareness. It's more like Saturday, you let yourself go through the meat grinder, and at some point along the way, there should be an aha or an insight as to like where the thread of wound is, or what the holdback is, or where the fear's located. Sunday's promise is epic. Venus will start the day still at the 30th anaretic degree of Scorpio. That means the morning of the 30th, Sunday morning, we wake into a world where our hearts are like in a storm on the ocean. Right? Venus is uncomfortable in Scorpio because the waves are too rough, and at the mastery degree, that is amplified. But Neptune is at the masterful degree of Pisces, his ruling sign. So our capacity to tap into intuition at the highest level, inspiration at the deepest, and all of the beautiful invisible energy that supports us through a spiritual practice, we get this gorgeous, like love is love is love is love energy as we wake into Sunday. And then at 12:14 Pacific time, Venus leaves Scorpio behind, enters Sagittarius, and we are done with 3.5 weeks of some of the deepest emotional turmoil I have seen talked about on social media. Felt a little bit in my own process. And because Venus is leaving Pluto's domain on Sunday and moving into Jupiter's, that's a day where we really get to feel the heaviness lift. And I promise, by the end of the day, Sunday, there's lightness in the heart that was not there when you woke up. I feel like the more you dive in and surrender on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the more uplifting Sunday can be.
Did you know that Michael has a daily astro alert? If you enjoy hearing the weekly astrology, you might like knowing more about each day. When you subscribe for the daily astro alerts, you'll get an in-depth explanation of the day's astrology sent right to your email. Subscriptions are only $10 a month, or you can purchase the yearly subscription at the reduced price of $100. To subscribe, head over to michaellennox.com. All right, it's dream segment time. Every week, Dr. Michael will interpret dreams that are sent in via email or take a live caller. If you would like your dream interpreted on the podcast, you can go ahead and email us at dreams@michaellennox.com. Hopefully your dream will make it onto the show. Today we have a call-in dreamer, and Abigail's calling from Texas. Hey, Abigail, what you dreaming?
Ooh.
Hi, thanks so much. Okay, so I had something that was interesting to me because I've been doing dream magic and dream journaling for years. So
Ooh,
I
yay.
do what you mentioned on your podcast. I have a journal that I keep literally by my bed, wake up in the morning, and I do the
Yay. Yay,
thing. That's
yay.
my style, right? And I have it with me here today too. Just why not?
Perfect.
And I had a succession of 3 nights of the same dream, but it had different variables each time to it. The narrative was kind of the same.
Yeah,
And I'm
very common.
right. And I'm under the impression of if it's repeating in any context, then there's something you're not gleaning from it that you need to know.
I would agree. And the power of three is also reflected in three iterations as
Yeah.
well. So, and I love little hits like that. It's fun to line them up.
Yes. So I decided I would just ask you for your thoughts.
Yeah.
There are repeating themes, and I'm excited to nerd out about those. But here you go. So the first one, I was in a house, some sort of house, and I was in bed with a friend for like sleepover style. And then all of a sudden in comes my boss who tries to let's say not be great in an adult way. And it's a nice way to put it. I don't know who's listening to
Yeah.
this. And I'm able to very smartly like coax him off of me. And he like kind of threatens like, I'm gonna fire you, whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he escapes and leaves, and then it kind of ends with me in negotiations with somebody, and somebody's like, maybe you should quit your job. I don't know. And it ends with me being reunited with my best friend and my 2 puppies. So that was
Same best friend?
what?
Same best friend that you were in bed with?
I think so. I think it was her in the bed. I didn't get a clear, like I got the energy and I was like, oh, that matches. So I do think it was her. Context, I love my boss. He's awesome. So that was really weird.
You just wouldn't want to fuck him.
No,
Yeah, there you
he's
go.
like my little brother. He's great.
Yeah,
Great.
okay.
And no. So the second night, I also started in a home environment. So the theater I work out of is very homey to me. So it was that,
Okay.
like my artistic community home. And then an earthquake starts. Okay. So we have another trauma thingy try to start. And the boss of the building goes, everybody freeze, nobody move. And I notice a wall's about to cave in. So I'm like, hey, we should all actually run out that way right now. And they all eventually listen to me and we run out and we just all barely survive. And then I'm reunited with my friends who were teachers on the other side of the building. And again, my puppies.
So, and another reunion.
Yes, another reunion with people I consider my family and just barely escaping some form of a trauma, right? So then the third one starts again with me in a house.
Love it.
But this time it's the trauma house that I grew up in, the abusive house that I grew up in. So it's me, my age today, living in that house. And then all of a sudden, my bio father yells, there's a tornado, run. So as I'm running to the shelter, I look out the window and I see that everything outside, sky, ground, everything, is this gross, moldy green color. And I realize that I am in the eye of the storm.
Oh.
Right? Okay. And so then I get to the tornado shelter and my dogs find me and I hold them and the dream kind of ends as I realize I'm not in super danger, but I'm also not in like the safest place ever yet. And I'm with you. Yes. So that was really interesting. So I tried to overanalyze and do all the research like I normally do each morning. And I was like, there's something that I'm not getting because it's all different types of home environments. Always unification, reuniting with my puppies or a loved one and or loved one. And then some sort of trauma that never hurts me and I somehow escape it. So that was fascinating to me.
Except in the last one.
Yeah.
You don't escape it, honey. You just are in the eye of it.
Okay.
So that you in that last dream are sort of with love, puppies, love.
Mhm.
And the storm is around you because you're in the eye of it. And that's not quite escaping. And I'll layer back into this when we get there. So first thing I want to say is this does not feel like you had it 3 times because you weren't getting it. This really feels like 3 different views of
Okay.
the same same internal process that the dreams are reflecting for you, but in two different arenas, right? With dream number 1 and 2, the sort of like work, artistry, and then the trauma. So to me, it's not about you didn't get to the trauma because you weren't listening. It's like first you have to look at this arena where you are operating in the sort of top down, farthest away from your passions, but your life must, work. That might not be connected to your creativity. So first you have to examine that part of who you're being, houses or self. So who are you in work right now is dream number 1. Who you are with relation to your creative expression is dream number 2. And dream number 3 says, I'm still in trauma that I have to heal. I'm no longer thrown about with it, like I'm not tornadoed out of commission. I'm in a calm center of it with love. And puppies are love you cultivate through life, right? It's not the love of mommy. It's the love of I choose to have an outward expression of my inner capacity to love unconditionally. So that's why we get puppies.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we also have to deal with how much they tickle our shadow, because I know my girl is a perfect reflection of me. Right. So you always come back to the self that you are, that is loving and knows who you are, I think. Anyway, let me go back again and layer through with some different perspectives. Who's the friend in the first dream?
One of my best friends, Grayson, she has the same career I do, which is really funny.
Is she also creative like you are?
Oh, yes. We're both musicians.
Got it. So the boss trying to, ultimately his goal is to penetrate. We assume that. But if he's getting on top of you in that way, it's a safe assumption, right? And then ipso facto, I call this like the ipso facto of a dream is that he's come, that you're in bed, that he's on top of you. We know that this is an inner aspect of you that connects to the obligation to work, to make a living, that you must. It's not an option yet for you to make your living through exclusively your artistry. So this first dream, remember, it's not your boss. He ain't there. And you love him in real life. So it's the idea of, like, if you didn't push him off, it would be integrating into that version of yourself a greater connection to the disconnected work that you must do, disconnected from your artistry. So it's like you can be in the most vulnerable place in bed with a sense of, that person, that friend, because she's there. That's like your reflection of you. You're in bed with yourself.
Okay.
In that first part of the dream. And then you make sure that you don't get impregnated with that consciousness because you're an artist ultimately. And you want to make sure that you keep that self right-sized and not too big or too procreative, because you don't want that to grow. I'm assuming that your artistry is more yummy and valuable to you than your, work. Okay. Oh, so the first dream, that's the conflict. Got it. So conflict handled. Now when we go to dream number 2, the fact that it's in your artistic community throws up the theme immediately. Now we're in the Abigail self of artist, theater person, connecting to what juices you up creatively. Now an earthquake, which is very different than a tornado.
Yeah.
Earthquake implies sudden great change of the solid landscape because of pressures that have been building and building. Now, because we go to dream number 3, and we know that you end up in the trauma that formed you, then the pressure of the earthquake in dream number 2 can't be just the pressure of being creative or the pressure of life on life's terms or the pressure of this time. I think it's the pressure coming from being raised in a traumatizing household and moving out in the world. And the third dream also tells us there's going to be more difficult emotional work for you to do, that these dreams are portending a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the artistic dream piece does reflect old conflicts. Now,
Okay.
if the boss, the authority figure, right, which is the same as dream number one, even if he didn't resemble, right, it's still the idea of the authority in you or the daddy issues in you or the part of you that would listen to conformity rather than break free in your sort of artistry.
Okay.
That to me is what's sort of happening with the authority figure who says freeze, when clearly the right thing to do is move and express and do more, right? It's not literal. This is not about surviving an earthquake. It's about if you stop growing and moving creatively, which this dream is sort of saying that might be happening or might be the danger.
Okay.
If you don't capitulate to what dream number 3 is about to show you, then you're stuck. You're not moving in the place, in the self that you want most movement to occur, your creative expression.
Mm-hmm.
I even like the fact that you run to a wall, a cave. Remind me of that image, because I see a wall cave, but honey, I don't know if I was following you right. What?
So it's the building itself that I'm in the dream and now is a 97-year-old cathedral that's been turned into a fine arts building. So it's very, very old. And it was the cathedral top in the sanctuary that we were in, that part of that wall was starting to cave in.
Oh,
So we had to
cave
go
in.
out. Yes.
So the structure was starting to dissemble under the force of the current shakeup. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any religious trauma?
Oh, so much.
Do you see why I ask?
Yeah. Mhm.
The cathedral as an image shows church, religiosity
Yeah.
caving in.
Yeah.
So there's something incredibly valuable about that second dream that's going to help, that is helping or reflecting that you are, in fact, dismantling the trauma, dismantling and discarding the ways that the old structures are still living in you, that frankly, your creativity is designed to bust through. That's the value of being creative.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So that's the second dream to me in a nutshell.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Now, tornadoes are similarly destructive, right? But a completely different construct. Tornadoes are about differing perspectives, bumping into each other with such force that they spin around and create a new conflict.
Okay.
What we're talking about in weather is high pressure, low pressure, hot air, cold air, that when it's shoved together and it creates a kind of spin around that which is unlike itself, it becomes a tornado. Low pressure is not high pressure. Hot air is not cold air. So when it's unlike itself and it spins around, a tornado that is a perfect image for trauma that happens in the childhood dreams, because the earthquake is the trauma that happens 30 years later because of the building pressure. So the tornado is like, I lived in a home that was like a tornado.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting on that for my age now. I'm connecting to my biological father, who's the same authority figure in number 2 and boss in number 1, daddy. The shelter that you find looks out and shows you the color green, which is the heart chakra, but it's moldy.
Yeah.
So that's love that isn't fresh because you're born into some trauma. The puppies are the part of love that's real and true that you have activated and lit up in your adult sovereignty. And being in the center of the old traumas, The fact that you're in the eye of the storm tells me that you're way past being pummeled by your traumas.
Yeah.
Because you're in the eye of the storm. That's to say, I'm okay. I'm not being, thrown up to Oz.
Mm-hmm.
But I still know the storm won't allow me to move out from here unless and then the fill in the blank there is whatever your life is calling forth from you in the realm of shadow work and self-investigation and leaning into fearful places inside your psyche so that they can be, you can find the demon, take it out, look at it, put it on a shelf and be good with things that you still have yet to explore.
Yeah.
So it's just like a snapshot saying, woo, look how far you've come. You own love. You know love. No matter how fucked up you get with moments in your life of crisis, you still come back to love. This is what I talk about in my classes of shadow work all the time. The measure of our success is not that we get taken to the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
We will always get taken to the underworld.
Yeah.
We go there every night when we go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can have is a promise of speed, efficiency.
Okay.
The measure isn't that you don't get caught into those shadowy things. It's how fast you return to the puppies.
Mm-hmm.
And that is well sort of presented in your dream as something that you are now at the level of owning and integrating. And there's a little more work to do.
Yeah, there always is.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. What a juicy dream.
Thank you. I appreciate all your insight.
Thank you for listening to Conscious Embodiment, Astrology and Dreams with Dr. Michael Lennox. You can find us on Apple Music, the iHeartRadio app, and anywhere you find your favorite shows. Head on over to michaellennox.com for information on astrology readings, the Daily Astro Alert subscription, upcoming classes, and to join the mailing list.